I'd like to thank the Bangalore International Film Festival, 17th edition, for creating this forum for talking about and remembering Mr. Bahadur in a very meaningful manner. Celebrating a centenary of a poem is by itself a festival. And today we are going to talk about him and know more about him from Girish. One thing I must tell you about Mr. Bahadur is that he did not start off as a lecturer in cinema. He was an economics professor to start with in Lucknow. And from there, one of the finest critics of Satish from the West, Mary Centenary, she referred opening of a film institute to Mrs. Gandhi, who was the information broadcasting minister at that time. She mentioned about Professor Bahadur in Patna, who is running a film club, and that's how Professor Bahadur became the first professor of film appreciation in the Film and Television Institute, in the first film institute of India. That was the background. So I am just telling you how you need not be into arts to come into arts. You can develop a outlook to look at cinema because it involves all of us, our entire lives. Now I request Mr. Girish Kasaravalli to give a main address. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Just 2 months back, I was in Pune. I was interacting with some of my colleagues at JAs, and that's when I realized this happens to be the 100th year of Prof. Satish. And I came back to Bangalore and I was telling Bhaskar that Bhaskar cross-checked and he said it is true. It's 100th year of Prof. Satish Bahadur. So I said in that case we should celebrate it in a very big way. And Bhaskar said let us organize a seminar on this. I was too happy hearing that. But later he said, you do the main matter. There's a proverb in Kannada. That happened, that's what happened. But I agreed to it because I wanted to share my views on the importance and significance of Professor Satish Bahadur. So I agreed to it. And in fact, if I'm some kind of I've achieved something in film just purely because of this teaching. And for a man, for a boy who is totally was not exposed to cinema at all, when I joined FJ, it was like a clean slate, and Professor Bahadur started writing the events of cinema, and that's how I learned. When I decided to write a book on my films, last year, I decided the book should be dedicated to 3 people, one of which one is Professor Satish Bahadur, and I told him to expose me to what is it. The second is Bahadur, who is another filmmaker from Orissa. He was teaching for us. I said, to make me understand how a film should be made. Third is to my cinematographer, Ramchandra, where I said how he taught me how to construct a film. I am saying this because we quite often have heard a lot of people saying that Bahadur gets stagnant and he doesn't go beyond certain things. But it is not. So we need to understand one thing. Cinema is both an experience as well as it's also a performing art. So to understand a performing art, you need, the first thing is to create an experience to the viewer, the reader, to the viewer or the listener. So what Professor Bahadur tried to do was something which no other film theoretician or film critic has done before. He didn't, most of our critics, film theoreticians, what they did was, what they are doing even today, is to analyze the content. But not many people understand content is not alone. Cinema is an experience. But for a film critic or for a film critic, how that experience is created is insignificant. Because they just go by experience. For Professor Bahadur, he was a film teacher. And who are his students? Are the students. They are all prospective filmmakers. So his aim was to analyze a film from that perspective. How the film is constructed in order to create an experience. So that is totally a different kind of an experience. That's why I won't hesitate to call him the father of, everybody calls him the father of film appreciation. As something objection to that. He's not a teacher of film appreciation. He was a film teacher of film analysis. There's a difference between film appreciation and analysis. Being a teacher in a film school, his attempt was to analyze a film so that the students can learn, understand how a shot and how a film is constructed. And from basing on that, one can learn or unlearn or take a different track altogether. For many of the critics, the moment they say a film, or whenever we ask them to talk about film, they'll go into the analysis of the content. Its social, political, philosophical, psychological aspects of the film. Well, it's all there, and that is our aim. But how do we achieve that is the path. If you don't understand the path, you can't achieve the goal. That's where Professor Satish Bahadur's contribution comes. Since it's also a performance, we need to know how things are aligned to create that experience. So that's why I would always call him Professor Father of Film Analysis, not film appreciation. But unfortunately, since for lack of better word, we always use film appreciation, and even in FGI he was called as Professor of Film Appreciation, which he never did. He didn't talk about the socio-political content of the film at all, because he said there are other professors to talk about it. I am there to show you how the film is constructed. In analyzing the content, in analyzing the film, there are two aspects. One is the content, the other is the form. Or to understand that in substitute word, content and the container. So, Professor Bahadur was trying to teach us how the subject, which container can take this subject. So, he was all the time telling us about the way how the shot is constructed, how a scene is constructed, how the entire film is constructed. This is very, very important, because I know there are a lot of filmmakers who have not many things to say, but they don't know how to say it. Because they are saying it, but then it doesn't translate into an experience. That's where Professor Bahadur constantly talked about the content, the medium, the construction. What is his methodology I would like to explain. This is something which all the filmmakers, critic filmmakers, practicing filmmakers should follow. We very often, when we talk about films, we never bother about how the shot or how the sequence is constructed. If we start analyzing that, then we'll get a better perspective to understand the film. What Satish Bahadur did was just that. Even when he was talking about, say, bicycle thieves, he didn't talk about the Second World War, the kind of social tensions it created. He said it's all, you can get it from other sources. If you pick up any book on Second World War, or if you pick up any book on other, so they will explain what are the kind of problems the Second World War created and how people faced it and all that. Using that text, how did he give the experience? And for that, he was meticulously study, see, shot by shot. He didn't just look at the whole overall. He went into the scene, he went into the stop, shot, and then started analyzing. And that is what made us FTA students richer. When FTA, I would say all FTA students, but the students who understood and followed Professor Bahadur methodology understands the construction of the film quite different. By looking at the film itself, you can know this man understands cinema, this man is only understands its intention is only to tell a story. Telling a story doesn't make the film cinematic. Ray has been saying it often. There are other elements in films which are equally important in a film analysis. What are they? The rhythm, the balance, the kind of coherence, the mise-en-scene. A friend of mine very jokingly says, we in India hear film analysis, film criticism, wherein nobody ever talks about, never uses the word mise-en-scene or the image. So that means they are only talking about the content and not the way how it is concerned. So Professor Bahadur, his objective is to tell us how a film should be constructed. Say in film, we have two elements, only two elements, nothing else. One is time and one is space. If you understand how to reconstruct a space, how to reconstruct a time, then the cinema is coming. See, you would very often say, many of our films, whether it is Hollywood or Bollywood or Indian films, they fail to create the space. If you can't create the space, the image that you are creating becomes synthetic. It will never get that kind of life. That's why he started approaching the film from a different perspective. What he would do is he would pick up a case or he would pick up a film and go into all the details and tell us how the film imparts the experience, not the idea, experience. If you want to impart the experience, you have to create that feeling that the man, that viewer, is looking at is living in the space. If he doesn't get that feeling, then he won't be part of it. So for him that is very, very important. And for that, he will get into all these details. How you can create space, spatial continuity in the film. I don't think any critic can ever talk about such things. After all, why should a film teacher should talk about it? Because that is very important for a filmmaker, not for a viewer or for a critic. So you would do shot by shot. You would pick up one film and analyze the entire film shot by shot. In Hollywood, unfortunately, we have a system in Hollywood, not in India. If you like a film, then they deconstruct, or to use the word, the scene shot by shot and understand how the elements of cinema are used in it. be lifted from a pond upstream of the sun, bring it down to their village. So they decided to dig a channel. The scene is very beautifully done, 3 minutes long. He would say how they are creating the space so that the viewer gets the feeling that it is flowing from upstream to the downstream. And then he would go into all the elements, the Eisensteinian elements, which Eisenstein talks about, how to create a space. And shows, see, these are the elements which you don't notice it, but you experience it. Of course, all the films should, the aim of all the film is to do that. But for a filmmaker, it's very essential how it is done. He will talk about it starts from top, then it goes to the next stage. So he follows the construction in such a way, the filmmaker, that you get the film now, it's going to the next stage, third stage, fourth stage, and now it has reached the village. How do you create? That is very important for a filmmaker, and he would give all the details how to create a space in a film construction. Similarly, the time. There are people, technicians, who say time. Today, everyone says, today's generation, this generation, things they are very, they don't have time, so everything has to be set immediately, as quickly as possible, as briefly as possible. But when you condense it, what you are trying to do is only trying to pass on the message, information. But in classical construction, you are trying to construct a scene, construct a time, so that you also experience time. And Professor Bahadur would tell us how to construct a time in cinema, how to construct time in cinema, how to construct space in cinema, how to construct time in cinema. If you learn these two things, then filmmaking becomes easy to follow. So that's how he spent all his life when he was teaching there in FTF up to 2090 or so. Picking up certain scenes and explaining how they are constructed. He picked up just 5-6 clips from various films and went on talking about for generations of students. One is, as I told you, it's one our daily life. 3 minutes. He taught us 3 minutes clip for 3 months. Explaining everything. Every day morning we get into the set, he said, next, our daily bread. Now we will follow how the water flows from top to bottom. Next day. Again, what is it? Again, our daily bread. Now, how the people dig this one from top to bottom. So, people, some of the people who are not very serious, they said, I have had another bread here, I want some sambar. But that Bahadur would also take that kind of a criticism. But he went on saying it's very important to realize, because I have not made all the breakdowns, short breakdowns, but you should also imbibe it and reflect on it so that you know how to create. He picked up, it's not true to say that he picked up only public ones, it's not true. He picked up things like, big city news, happy and incidents with own creative. Washroom, potential, physical things, wild stories, and development. If you ask me, people might say, why not pick up that different things? But to pick up a scene and to understand the logic of how it works, you need time. It's not enough, one can't really find out just just 1 minute or 2 minutes how a film works. It's kind of a meditative film movie. You have to look at each, all the details. What are the angles, what are the, travel movements. And then only you can understand how a scene works. And Professor Bahadur, I think probably have worked on this for about 8-10 years and mastered it. So you can't give me a film and say next day you talk about this. It's not possible. But because if you have to pick up the film, if you like the film, then you have to figure out which are the elements which are working in the film and how are they interrelated, and by using that kind of a construction, how the idiom becomes a metaphor. These are something which nobody ever discusses. He kept on saying, if you use a technique for it purely for itself, then there is no value in it, because techniques are invented not by you. It's by some big Hollywood person or European. Zoom is not invented by any of us. Just because something is called Zoom, you keep on using it, then you are only using it as technique and you don't convert into an idiom. He would taught us this point, how to convert a technique into idiom. It's only then it becomes yours. To convert an idiom, to convert a technique into idiom, you will have to draw inspiration from your background, from your own culture, from your socio-political issues, and from your own communal practices. That's where, that's how Bahadur taught us, and that's how I practice that. Second thing is one very good quality of Professor Bahadur was Vidyashankar pointed out. He never discouraged anyone with someone who has some different arguments. He would show a film and then say, opinion, ask opinion, Bhaskar explained that. If someone says one view, he would say, look, you may be right. He would say, you may be right. You could be right. Then if someone says, alternate perspective, then also, you may also be right. Come out with the arguments. Tell me why you think it's a great law, why you don't think it's a great law. That way he would encourage people, encourage students to develop an argument. So something which was quite shocking to me, because I am from a science background where 2 plus 2 can only be 4. He said no. If you think 2 plus 2 is equal to 5, just tell me why you think 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. Because that's hard. You use that. And in fact, that's how a first year student will. He showed us wages of fear. It's a very highly celebrated film. People were very happy with it. And I said, I have a problem, sir. So what is it? Tell me. I said, the construction of the film is, according to me, little the comic in the market. Was it? I have a problem. What is it? The first 20 minutes of the film is constructed as if it's a kind of a neo-realist film with social background and forwarding of this. But later on, once the van starts moving, once the shot starts shifting TNT with the vehicle, it becomes a kind of a thriller. And later on, you don't go back to these socio-political issues at all. You forget about it. And he thought about it and he said, it's a very valid point. Let us discuss about it. The whole, then he made us realize the film should be conceived in its entirety. There should be a holistic approach to a film. Not because a certain technique is interesting, not because certain things are interesting. He said, no, in a good film, the holistic works right through the film. And that's where we realized how not to get carried away by the certain thrilling frequencies, certain emotional frequencies, because it doesn't form part of the entire structure. This kind of analysis was so, we opened our eyes that we started understanding cinema from a different perspective. Not merely as a storytelling aid, but as a visual. The way how we look at painting, the way how we look at architecture, we started looking at cinema. And that is actually this one designed by Prof. Satish Bahadur, and others also started following. My daughter later joined another film school, and she only called me, Papa, today's class was great. I said, why? What? Fantastic. Really explained. I said, what is it? Today they showed Rashomon and they analyzed the structure of Rashomon. I said, fantastic. What is it? The professor said that there are 5 stories, 5 have 5 different kinds of structural design. He says, first happens in the Rashomon gate, then there is Tajomon story, woodcutter story, that samurai story and the lady story, and each is designed one. You know how it is structured? I said, yes, let me tell you. The Rashomon gate scenes have only triangle proportions and strong diagonals and verticals. Yes, next. There is a Tajomon scene, woodcutter scene, a strong horizontal and there are no vertical lines. Then go to the next. This is Tajomon scene. It uses verticals which are very dynamic. She said, how could you guess all this? I said, that's what Professor Bahadur taught us. And your lecture has learned omitting it here. It's not this at all. And it is there, people realize, and we all realize how important it is to structure a story. This nobody teaches you. The structuring of a film is very important. When Ray says, not just the plot, but the structuring is equally important. Structuring, rhythm, balance. What he meant was this. And then the thing is, then another accusation against Professor Bahadur is that he gets stopped. He stops at that level. He only teaches you basics, which is not true. If these things are basics, I can bet that so many thousands of filmmakers around us, they can't even talk about these basics. The converting a technique into a medium, I don't think many filmmakers will ever be able to. Especially technicians will never be able to answer this question. I was listening to many technicians talking about this one. When cinema we decided to interview all the technicians to find out their philosophy of cinema. Myself and my friend Ramchandra, we did a special issue on technique in cinema for Centenary. We went and met a lot of people and asked them, just tell us something about why did we use this kind of light, why did we use this kind of filter, why did we use this lens. They couldn't answer it. They didn't even think about those things. I have worked with many cameramen also, no, not FDA. When I say this is going to be my setup, immediately they say, okay, bring 35 again. I said, why 35? Because 32 has a philosophy. 50 lens has its own philosophy. telephone has its own process.